So the media is reporting that Trump settled on his VP pick. Knowing Trump, anything is possible in terms of changing his mind at the last minute. But as of now, he says that he's going with Mike Pence. This is the governor of Indiana. So what do we need to know about this guy? Well, I would describe him as a fringe establishment Republican. Almost a contradiction in terms there, but not really. So he's still within the spectrum of being an establishment Republican, total corporate sellout, but he's on the fringe of the establishment Republicans. So he was in Congress. He was there for a while. Right now he's the governor of Indiana, and he's an insider. And he's probably most known for recently causing outrage by signing an anti-LGBT bill that allowed businesses to discriminate. It solidified the right of businesses to discriminate against gay people because of their religious beliefs. Oh, my religion says I don't want to hire no damn gays, so I'm not going to hire you, or I'm going to fire you. So this is what this guy believes. Now, in response to this, basically every corporation in Indiana was like, yeah, piss off. We're going to leave if you sign that and if this stays law. So he's like, well, no, I love gay people. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to get rid of that. So, in other words, this is what I mean when I say he's a fringe establishment Republican. So he was outside of the realm of establishment Republican. He was a true social conservative Kool-Aid drinker. But then when push came to shove and the businesses were like, dude, we're about to be out. He's like, oh, no. I mean, gay people are great. They're great. So then he moved back inside the fringe or the spectrum of establishment Republicanism. He also supported the Iraq War. That's interesting. This is the pick that Donald Trump went with, a guy who supported the Iraq War. He's been on the campaign trail hammering the Iraq War endlessly. And, you know, he almost kneecaps one of his own main arguments that he's been using against Hillary Clinton, where he says, she was for it, I'm against it. That's a strong argument, but now he kind of kneecapped that because his second-hand man or right-hand man, or the fuck you call it, he's like, yeah, no, totally, Iraq War. He was one of the lead defenders of the Iraq War, Mike Pence. And let's also be clear for the record that Trump, his rhetoric on the campaign trail has been great on the Iraq War, but it actually isn't true that he was against it. There's audio of him on Howard Stern from back when the war first happened, and he's basically like, yeah, why not? Just give it a shot. So he wasn't against it. Let's be clear. Later on, his rhetoric changed, and his rhetoric now is good, and I'll give him credit for that. He also supports the TPP. Now I just, like, what are you doing, Trump? What are you doing? The two decent things about Trump, that he is always hammering the Iraq War today, and he's always doing rhetoric against the TPP. Now it's like those things are gone. Because you're picking somebody who's wrong on the two main things where you actually make a little bit of sense with your rhetoric. Why would you do that? I mean, I actually know why he's doing that. He's doing that because all he hears constantly from establishment Republicans is, oh my God, you're losing the base, you're losing the base, you're losing the base, you're losing the base, you're losing the base. So he's picking somebody who he thinks is going to shore up the base. Now, why do I think that's a bad strategy? I think it's a bad strategy because it's actually not true that Trump lost the base. He never lost the base. That's why he won the Republican primary. You know who he lost? The only people he lost are establishment Republicans. People like Bill Kristol, some prominent neoconservatives. Rich, elite establishment Republicans in the Washington bubble. That's who he lost. But he keeps hearing from them that he lost the base, so he's like, I gotta shore up the base, I gotta pick this guy Mike Pence. But you already have the base, jackass. You already fucking have the base. If he went with a somewhat moderate pick, I think he would have upped his chances big time for winning the election. But no, he went with a typical douchebag and somebody who supports the TPP and somebody who supported the Iraq War. The two best things about Trump is that he hits those things. He's like, I would like to eliminate the only good things about me. Okay, more. The Koch brothers really, really like him, and they've given him hundreds of thousands of dollars. See, this is another reason why I probably pick Pence. He's like, well, the Koch brothers fucking hate me. The Kochs do hate Trump. So he's like, maybe this will make them feel like, maybe we'll go back on that and donate a little bit to Trump's campaign because he desperately needs big money. He's raised big money from some sources, but a lot of the donors don't like him. Okay, so also, he attempted to start a state-run media organization in Indiana, which basically just does propaganda. It was compared to Pravda. I remember we covered that story on the show. So, I mean, the guy's a silly guy. He's a kind of authoritarian, just like Trump in that sense. Like, who does that? I'm going to create a state-run media organization, and then you act like it's a good, novel idea, like an original thought. Like, oh, nobody's ever done this before. Yeah, every authoritarian regime ever always controls the media. You're like, I want to do that. Yeah, that's stupid. We see right through it. Obviously, you're just going to do propaganda for your own administration. I mean, what do you think? We're dense? You're dense. And then he did criticize Trump on a couple things, but most prominently, the Muslim ban. He called it, quote, offensive and unconstitutional. That's a rare area where Mike Pence is actually better than Donald Trump. He doesn't believe in climate change. He fucking doesn't believe in climate change. He wrote articles on this. He was briefly a while back a conservative talk show host. That's like the mark of an idiot, is that anybody who's ever been a conservative talk show host is like, come on, dude, really? That's what you're going to do? So he wrote these pieces and whatnot, talking about how, oh, yeah, actually, it's the opposite. World is totally cooling. Totally cooling. Believe me, I'm a conservative talk show host. I know better than scientists and double-blind studies, peer-reviewed. Yeah. So, profound idiot. Just an idiot. If you can't tell, I'm done with the crowd that doesn't believe in climate change. Dismiss. Get the fuck away from me. I have no interest in you. You're a child. It's almost akin to arguing that the earth is flat. It really is. At this point, with all the evidence, all the data, I mean, there's been this giant meta-analysis of studies done over like a decade on all the credible studies on climate change. So in other words, not the ones funded by fucking Exxon and Chevron. And what did they find? It's something like 99.8, 99.9% of the studies agree that climate change is happening, largely man-made, and we got to do something to fix it. So I'm still not done yet because I saved the best two things for last. He doesn't believe in evolution. It's 2016. Stop it. I can't, man. This is we're the most powerful country on the planet. We have the most gargantuan military in human history. And we're going to have idiots like this running shit who don't even believe in evolution. And I'm supposed to think you're rational enough to have fucking nuclear codes. What a joke this is. You don't believe in evolution. Idiot's a creationist. He thinks the world is 6,000 years old. The world is 4.54 billion years old. The universe is about 13.8 billion years old. Look at this shit, man. 6,000. We'll go with that. I believe the Bible. Because you're a fucking moron. That's why. And he's also a smoking truther. What is that, you ask? I'm glad you asked. It's somebody who has questions about whether or not smoking actually makes you sick, and whether or not there's actually a link between smoking and, say, cancer or emphysema. I'm not kidding. He wrote a piece on this. By the way, he took so much money from, shock, the tobacco companies. Would you look at that? Look at his opinions. They happen to line up with the tobacco companies. In fact, he literally said at one point, quote, smoking doesn't kill. This is Trump's VP pick. You ready for the... again, somehow it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The saddest part of all this. What do the Democrats do? Some of the Democrats, including President Obama, they came out with positive words about Mike Pence. Let me repeat that. Maybe you didn't hear me right. Positive words about Mike Pence. You're like, what the fuck, Kyle? You just told me 800 things that make this guy a lunatic. That's right. You know what they did? They took the one decent thing he did and praised it. Nobody's saying anything about all this shit. Smoking truther doesn't believe in evolution. A moron doesn't believe in climate change. For the Iraq War. For TPP. Nobody says anything about that. What do they say? You know, as governor of Indiana, he expanded Medicaid. This is a very moderate choice. Moderate choice on Trump's behalf. I give up. This is how far right the Republican Party has moved. And this is how far right the Democrats have moved to keep up with the Republicans. The entire spectrum has shifted to the right. When we have this big of a loser as a candidate, and Obama comes out and talks about the one decent thing he did. He expanded Medicaid. Yay! Yeah, ignore everything else about his record. He expanded Medicaid. So I guess he's moderate. If this is a moderate Republican, that tells you a lot about Republicans.